Good morning for those who are in New York, and for those people who are in different parts of the world, it will be good afternoon or good evening, depending on what part of the world you're joining us from. I understand we have a long list of people who are joining. Either they're on Zoom, as you can see on the TV monitor up there, or some of them are joining via YouTube and other platforms to get to see what we do. I want to thank you very much for coming for this town hall meeting. We decided this year we're going to make it small and cozy environment for a conversation that is extremely important to the nation. Nigeria is at a crossroads. For the last 15 years, we've been talking about a crossroad, a crossroad, a crossroad. After every election, we get to that point where we're talking about this crossroad again. And then we prepare for the next, for the next, and for the next. The essence of this conversation that we want to have in this town hall today is to get Nigerians in diaspora to say to themselves, first and foremost, that they will not be silenced. Do they want to be silenced? Is the question. And if they say they will not be silenced, what do you want to do about it? And how are you going to go about it? Because as they say, over the last 30 years in Nigeria, every adult, every elder in our society, in a nation called Nigeria, has said it consistently, that power is not delivered to any individual on a platter of gold. You're not going to get an opportunity to influence. From our research over the years, we've come to the realization that year on year, the remittances of Nigerians to Nigeria from diaspora has continued to increase. The last count in terms of money that was said to have been remitted to Nigeria by Nigerians in diaspora was over 4 trillion. It's over 1 trillion naira. That's what we're told. We're talking of billions of naira reaching out from diaspora to Nigeria. And just recently, the central bank governor made an announcement that there is a 7-point agenda, if I'm not wrong, where it makes it possible and a lot easier for Nigerians to be able to transact, to be able to transfer money, to be able to run banking accounts and things like that, to have transactions with banks and make it easy for money to flow from this side of the world to that side of the world. So they're making it easier for you to be able to move money to Nigeria. It helps the Nigerian economy. But will you have a voice and an influence on how that money is used and how the nation begins to evolve? That's the big question. Like one of my friends in diaspora said, oh, they want our money, but do they want our voice? Do they want us to be able to influence the direction of the nation? That's the essence of this conversation. So the person that will open it up is somebody that I have great respect for. He's a retired colonel of the Nigerian Army. He's also a lawyer. He's written a book on this particular topic of diaspora influence and so on. His name is Colonel Jelili Adebiyi. He is also, Colonel Fadile is also the President, Council for African Security Affairs, is based in Houston, Texas. Colonel Fadile, please, you're welcome, and we'll be happy to have you do your presentation. You have 4 minutes only. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Quite an honor to be up here having conversation on such a very important subject matter that we all know is pertinent to all of us in the diaspora. Because, of course, if you're investing about $30 billion and contributing that to your mother and fatherland, you surely want to have a vote. Once again, my name is Bobby DeJolisa. I'm the current president of Nigerians in the Diaspora in New York State. It's been a privilege to work with our council members, our council general members in New York, and also our ambassadors. Part of our work has been to educate Nigerians in the diaspora about matters concerning Nigeria, what we're taken back home, and also like how being connected to Nigeria benefits us in the long run. And that goes from, people who need to ship families back home who are bereaved, and even during the pandemic. So, on the matter of the voting in diaspora, some of the examples that I want to bring forth, because we can talk about the issues and the challenges all day, but some of the examples are that it's actually happening not just in America, that diasporians can vote. For example, if elections coming up in America and you're overseas or traveling, there's actually what is called an absentee voter's ballot. And an absentee voter's ballot is where you're able to actually request for a ballot, and the processes are, and that's the key, the processes are transparent. There are systems that have been perfected. You can request a ballot, cast your ballot before you go, and travel on your trip or remain overseas. And then you have in the EU, you even have Senegal that are actually incorporating and have been utilizing, and Brazil, of course, have been utilizing diaspora voting. So I understand that in Nigeria, I don't want to get into minutiae or the challenges that we're facing right now in getting it passed as legislation and the constitution amendments. But what we can do is have pilot programs. So we've been pushing for NIN registration, BVN, etc. Those are methods that we can actually use to identify and capture biometrics. Because one of the issues that has delayed the legislation actually because can we gauge that diasporans who are casting their votes are actually who they say they are, right? And can we ensure that there aren't players who are maybe influencing the voter turnout, the numbers, etc. So these are very valid issues that we have to look at. But once again, if government is putting in measures now where there's transparency in the way that we are banking, for example, even purchasing land and etc., we can begin to use these mechanisms and guardrails that are in place to say, okay, well, can we have diasporans vote whether in general elections, for instance? And we have models that are actually working. So I don't know if the resources are being provided so that we can actually research or investigate the different methodologies being used. But I think that's an area that can be happening as the legislation in government is being passed through. So in my research, having worked on different political elections in New York and in New York State, there are case studies, there are models and modules that could be implemented on a granular level, where Nigerians in the diasporas who are very, very active, and I say that because I just was in Nigeria for 10 months in July, and we did very, very impactful groundwork where we were able to empower thousands of Nigerians in Nigeria. So if we can do that, we can obviously participate in this effort to get Nigeria diaspora voting become a legislation.
Thank you so much. Please, a big round of applause. Thank you so much. That's Honorable Bobby Digi Olisa. Thank you so much. Next, I'll be calling on Ambassador Dr. Edward Ilechukwu. He's the United Nations Global Peace Ambassador. He's a Nigerian in diaspora. So, is he here, please? Yes, my brother. Good to see you. Yes. So,
Mr. Kayode. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. This is a very important discussion to me because being in the UN space, there's a lot of things that go on there in terms of how the world relates to Africa. And when I say Africa, a couple of you might know that Nigeria is Africa and Africa is Nigeria. There's no Africa without Nigeria. But when we talk about the Nigerian diaspora. It has grown way bigger than what we think it is. And what do I mean by that? If you go to social media today, you find out that a lot of African Americans and a lot of Caribbeans are doing DNA tests, and over 70% of them are Nigerians. Okay? So we have come together, sir, to advocate for Africans who were not born in the continent to see what they can contribute towards the development of the continent. Matter of fact, as we speak, there is an organization which we just started, and people are signing up already, and I'm going to ask everyone to sign up when we're done. It's called the African Diaspora Ancestral Heritage Foundation. So you are going to be shooting yourself on the foot if you just think that Nigerian diaspora are people who speak the Nigerian languages, people who were born in Nigeria or born abroad to Nigerian parents. Okay, so what the diaspora needs to do to get the attention of the government. Number one, the diaspora must come together under existing forms, example, NIDO, Nigerians in the diaspora, and also form new forms. Because of time, I'm just going to run through it. Number two, engage with our representatives here in the consulates and embassies, and also the governments of the various nations where we reside. Example, city mayors, borough presidents, councilmen, governors, and even the Congress and the presidential villa. Here in New York, I'm very, very active with the mayor elections. In fact, when Mr. Eric Adams, who I'm happy to call a friend of mine, was running for elections 3.5 years ago, I was one of those that facilitated his becoming mayor. And we did not stop there. Some of us were given appointments to work under him. So if we are going to be effective in engaging our governments at home, we have to first of all engage our governments of the different countries where we reside. Engage with our leaders from home when they come abroad for trips. Example, United Nations General Assembly. A lot of side events. I have 4 side events today. But this is very critical because now those who are at home, the government representatives who are at home, starting from the president down, they are looking forward to hear what the diaspora has to say. When they called me and they gave me this topic, I was looking at it and I was saying, it should be what should the government in Nigeria do to engage with the diaspora and to get our attention? Okay. Number 4, hold our leaders and representatives accountable when agreements with diasporans are not kept through influencing of elections by voting out irresponsible and lackadaisical leaders who do not keep their promises to diaspora. Very sensitive, but very important. We cannot afford to have NIDO and other forums and have platforms like this and have meetings and discuss and dialogue, and then some fellow from home comes out and says, hey, you need to do this and do this before we can listen to you. But when I went to Nigeria, one of them sat me up and said, hey, we know you're a UN ambassador, but listen, when you come in home, take that brain and leave it at the airport because things work differently here. These are discussions that we need to start having because our children who are born here are looking forward to one day go home. Okay? It is critical to engage diasporans in elections, especially the presidential elections. And I am using this platform to call the Honorable Chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Ms. Sadiq Rabiu, to take seriously the issue of diaspora voting and make sure that things are put in place to make this a reality. I will not be mincing words if I say that if she fails to achieve that, then she has failed in her duties as chairman. I'm speaking for the whole diasporans. Am I speaking for diasporans here? Okay, few more. Forums of this nature where we can speak truth to power via the media and then also have meetings on ground at home with representatives and leaders. Advocating for stronger institutions in the 3 levels of governance: executive, legislative, and judiciary.
making sure that people who are running for elections locally and nationally are vetted by the people to make sure they are qualified. Diasporans, this is the big one. That's the second to the last. Diasporans getting involved in elections both by running for positions and also supporting well-qualified diasporans and local politicians, both at home and also in the countries of residence. Run for elections in Nigeria and also here in the United States. And last but not the least, we must remember that if we diasporans can get the government at home to work and do the right thing to strengthen our institutions, and if we can also partner directly or indirectly with them, remember, there's no place like home. One day we will want to go back there and make sure that our institutions are stronger than when we left them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big round of applause. This is what we're talking about. We're looking for solutions. We're looking for solutions, and we're hoping that before we leave this place, we have the activation of some of these solutions so that we have a proper handshake and everybody will leave here with the intention to be one of those that will take action on the specific things that we have agreed here. So without much ado, let me move on to the next person who is speaking. He's the co-chair of NIDO Americas, Mr. Bukola Olaoye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all the great speakers, all protocols duly observed. I actually got a topic of how we leverage INEC infrastructure on ensuring we have a great diaspora voting. I think the question is, why diaspora voting, right? Why are we actually trying to vote from the diaspora? Yes, that's because we want to lend our voice. We want to ensure that we're doing what we're doing as citizens of Nigeria. Now, for historical purpose, diaspora voting has actually gone through the House before. It's been turned down. It's now gone through the second reading, and it's going now for the confirmations and regional places before it goes for the third reading to assent before the president actually does it. It is actually a constitutional change. So it's not just a conversation, but a conversation to make the constitution change. Now, constitution of what? We're looking at the 1999 constitution. Now, that's where the ins and outs is going to actually make a conversation there. But I won't go into the politics of that. I will skip that part. I'll leave that for the ambassador to continue pushing. Now, but there need to be increased participation from diasporas. This is a conversation. We should have many more. Mr. Bobby talked about national identity. We need to enhance that. There is the NIN. I think it's gone far enough. There is our enhanced passport. It's gone far enough. What else are we waiting for? A lot of African countries don't even have that. And of course, there are challenges. I talked about the logistical issues. A lot of people have concerns when it comes to dual citizenships. But most importantly, as long as we start educating ourselves, educating our voters here in diaspora and even back home, because they will help us push those legislatures to make things happen. We need to put a framework together. Now, who's actually going to pass this law? It's the legislative, right? How are we going to engage them? Now, a lot of times I've actually been part of the voting process here in the United States before. And even the US does not throw their votes on media, on the web platform. We actually capture the information offline and submit those in person. Is there a reason? It's to ensure there is a level of authenticity to that effect. So the question is, who's going to be part of this? The diasporans. Who's going to be part of this? The consulates. Who's going to be part of this? The legislators. How do we help? Like starting with this. So thank you to everybody that is here. The next step, we talked about the commission in Nigeria. We talked about secure voting machines. We want to make sure all this are put together, but it starts with you and I. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you ever so much. So we move very quickly. We go and bring on those who are in diaspora via Zoom from different parts of America, Europe, and other parts of the world. So I bring on Colonel Bello Fadile, a retired colonel of the Nigerian Army and also a lawyer. He's also the President, Council for African Security Affairs, based in Houston, Texas, in the United States of America. Colonel Fadile, please go ahead. You've got 3 minutes. Okay, it looks like a number of people that we want to bring. Mr. Omoyele Sowore is supposed to, he's already here. We're looking for him to join. One of the honorable members, okay, so we go now. Let's come back into the hall. And let's bring on, okay. Is he on now? No. The audio is not confirmed. Okay, since we're yet to sort out the audio, let me bring on Dubem Guje, who's the African Global Health Consultant, Cornell University, a fellow of SDG and SDG advocate, founder of Team 54 Project.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, and thank you, News Central, for having us. My name's Daniel Guje. I'm also the outgoing focal coordinator for the Office of African Union Youth Envoy and the program manager for 2024 African Union Youth Diaspora Dialogue Summit. First and foremost, as an African child, I want to recognize the presence of all our elders, all our leaders. Bobby, thank you for all you've done. And I also want to greet our people in the language people understand. Ndewo, Shedadalewa, Sanudezua. It's important that we understand that there is a generational shift. That we have children that never saw the Biafran War. We have kids that that listen to Fela, but transformed Fela's vision into a global brand. And all these kids that did that, Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, all had global best practices mentality, all had the zeal of being Nigerians, and they've seen suffering quoted in various ways, and they refuse to be where they are, and they want to be different. One of the reasons why we are having challenges in our country is that we fail to understand that if we don't create conducive environment for people, don't include people in the decisions that will affect not only them, the children that they are going to leave behind, people will find other alternatives. It's on that note that I'll read a 2-minute speech. One of the most powerful ways that we can confront our challenges and inspire hope in our country is to bring strong connections, cultural best practices, and continue to influence our motherland, especially for those of us here. 50 years ago, it used to be that in America, 8,750 kilometers away, it would be hard to communicate. But in light of the current development with technology and digitalization, at the comfort of your WhatsApp group, you can speak to people in real time. And I'm watching Sowore here via Zoom as a result of that advancement. So it's often very sad when we see our best brains move away from Nigeria and come all the way here and become exceptional people. They are scientists, they are doctors, they are cerebral thinkers, they are people that are changing the narrative, excellent musicians, repackaging our meals like jollof rice, like Hilda Basi. All this connects us to one thing, that as long as we refuse to do global best practices, as long as we refuse to accept the truth, as long as we refuse to accept knowledge, as long as we refuse to communicate effectively in simple languages that people understand, as long as we do not see ourselves as one, it will be hard for us to evolve. The application of digital system is the key. Why do I say digital system? Digitalization from the concept of here in America is the process of using technology to add value to our lives or to address the challenges that we have in such a way that we're able to evolve, we're able to share our cultural best practices, and people get to know us better for who we are. Let me give an example. Hilda Basi had been cooking jollof rice for many years. That we just saw her 2-3 weeks ago is because she was using a platform called the Guinness Book of Records. The Guinness Book of Records has existed long before now, but they always want to showcase exceptionalism seen across board. And as I speak to you, jollof rice is being seen now, a meal that I have eaten all my life, is being seen now as the next big thing. What do we learn? When we digitalize and convert our physical barriers, physical challenges into digital spaces or using digital platform, we can be able to transform our country. That's why Nigerians must accept that people in diaspora must learn to vote. We voting here will add the knowledge, the understanding, give us that sense of belonging that we are part of that system, and also help you better understand why we have left in the first place. So our call is for our leaders. We're not competing with you. I'm not dragging anything with you. I just want to ensure that my 5-year-old son, born here in America, has an opportunity to be a true Nigerian when he returns back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We move very quickly to a Nigerian politician and journalist, human rights activist, a citizen reporter and lecturer who is usually based in the U.S. and just down the road from where we are now, in New Jersey, but he's not in the country at the moment. So please welcome Omoyele Sowore, who was the presidential candidate of the African Activist just recently. Omoyele Sowore, you've got 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to this. I am really excited to join you. I couldn't be in New York today because I have to be here in Abuja, where I'm facing some criminal trial by the Nigerian government for cybercrime. But that's a discussion for another day. What I want to talk about today is yes, is my conversation today is about diaspora voting.
Okay, hold on.
And can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. But it's to be specific about diaspora voting. Why should the diasporans vote? The diasporans have become almost the foreign investors that you have been hearing about ever since you've been hearing about foreign investors. It is Nigerians who now live abroad who actually are the foreigners who invest in Nigeria and on the continent of Africa. And anybody who brings in over $50 billion into an economy should not be asking or begging to vote. They should be the ones who determine likely how to vote, where they vote, because they'll be voting with their pockets. It's time for them to vote with their fingerprints. But I have to say this, and this is very important, that part of the reason why you see that the diasporans in Nigeria have become a little bit too laid back on this issue is the Nigerian government have always tried to control how the diasporans organize themselves. And one of the biggest coup they did against the diaspora leadership or diasporas was to create what they call Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, which was an appendage of the Nigerian government, people who could never oppose them. It was done by Obasanjo. And that took away the independent voice of organizing of Nigerians in diaspora or Africans, well, who are likely Africans as well. And I want to encourage Nigerians in the diaspora not to allow themselves to be sequestered under government-formed organizations. Form your own organizations. Determine how you push for your right to vote, because the Nigerian government did not form Western Union. They did not form any of the money transfer platforms. And you discovered, even when in terms of how the political conversations are framed, especially digitally. It is the Nigerians in diaspora that do most of the work. They do all the discussions. They're the ones who help frame the narrative on how to fight corruption. They bring in their own ideas, and we have very powerful people, well-trained people, Nigerians who, when they're given the opportunity, not just at level of voting, they must also be represented in our parliament. And when you're talking about representation, it's not to ask Nigerians in diaspora to come and get land in Abuja. That's not what we are talking about. Do as the Indians did. There must be a deliberate policy to bring back Nigerians in the diaspora to come and be the engine room for development, industrialization, and progress here, because they have gone out there, they have acquired these skills, doctors, engineers, technologies. Let them have a way to come back. But nobody's coming back home. If they come home and you have a shambolic nation, you have an airport where people are beggars or putting their hands into your pocket, where the police is ready to kill you at the slightest provocation. A diasporan who just came to Ikorodu has just been shot and brought back. Let me tell you how bad it is to be a Nigerian in diaspora and how Nigerians feel about being, coming back home. A Nigerian was kidnapped and killed in this country, and his family requested to repatriate his body back to the US for burial. That's how bad it is. And I'm talking to you as someone who's been in diaspora for 20-something years. When I brought my skills, my ideas into this country, what did they do? They try to kill it. As I'm talking to you now, Nigerian government sees my passport simply because I saying that I want a better country. But to conclude this, we must look at the smaller countries around us who are doing diaspora voting. South Africa is doing it, Algeria is doing it, Tunisia is doing it. There is no excuse for Nigerians not to force. I'm using the word force. I'm not saying physical violence, but you must do everything you can. Use your economic power to force the Nigerian government to make sure you are part of the voting population. The reason they don't want you to vote, let me tell you before I conclude, is that there are 6 million Nigerians outside. The person who wins the presidential election in Nigeria is usually by 12 million. The last person was 9 million after they did what they had to do with the figures. If they know that the 6 million Nigerians are abroad, you can't bribe them with bread, clothes, and groundnut. Those people have independence. They have the ability to determine who the best leaders are based on, the parameters that they use to judge great leaders. And if you come to vote, that 6 million people is who they're afraid of. And we must put our money where our mouth is. And this time around, it's not just putting our money where our mouth is. We must put our money where our finger is. Use your economic power to force these guys to ensure that you can vote. And we can start using electronic voting from the diaspora so that they can know here that it can work. I want to thank everyone for coming. Such a short time, but I appreciate seeing you guys virtually again. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. A big round of applause. I don't want to cut off Mr. Sowore. I hope you can hear me. Omoyele Sowore, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I will say thank you very much. I think now you can hear me. I want to say thank you very much for your contribution. Because of time, we're limited to just about 3 minutes for every contribution. So the point has got to be really short and straight to the point. So we'll move on to Mr. Sadiq Rabiu, who is Special Assistant to the President on Capacity Development. Sadiq, good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Because of time, I'm just going to go straight to the point as you mentioned. Distinguished Nigerians in the diaspora, friends of our great country, ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with gratitude and with hope. Gratitude because your sacrifices, your remittances, your advocacy, and your brilliance have sustained Nigeria in more ways than we often admit. Hope because I believe with conviction that the story of Nigeria is changing and that you, the diaspora, will no longer be sidelined or silenced in the future of our democracy. The theme of today's gathering, will Nigeria diaspora be silenced again in 2027, is not a question to be ignored. It is a question that demands courage, honesty, and leadership. And I assure you that under the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, this government is determined to ensure that the voice of Nigerian diaspora is not only heard but actively shapes the direction of our nation. The Nigerian diaspora is not a fringe community. We are the doctors saving lives in America, the engineers driving innovation in Europe, the entrepreneurs creating wealth in Asia, and the academics shaping knowledge across the world. You are, in every sense, one of Nigeria's greatest assets. But I must also acknowledge the painful truth. For too long, the diaspora has been treated as an afterthought in national decision-making. Too often, your voices have been drowned out, your voices debated but not delivered, your skills admired but not integrated. That era must end. This administration is committed to three things in carrying you along. Number one is diaspora voting. The debate on diaspora voting must move beyond promises. The President has given clear signals that Nigerians abroad deserve a voice in choosing their leaders. You should not have to watch the destiny of your homeland unfold without a say. Capacity development and integration. My office is championing a national capacity development strategy that does not stop at our borders. We are creating pathways for knowledge transfer, for skills return, and for professional collaboration so that the expertise you carry abroad can help transform systems back home. Investment and partnership opportunities. We know that you contribute over $20 billion annually in remittances, but beyond remittances, we are opening structured platforms for diaspora investment in key sectors: energy, agriculture, digital economy, creative economy, and education. With government guarantees for accountability and impact. My message to you today is simple. You will not be silenced in 2027. This government is listening, the President is committed, and I, in my role as the Special Assistant to the President on Capacity Development, will continue to push to ensure that diaspora voices are institutionalized in policy and governance and in development. Let us work together. Let us prepare not only to send money home, but to send ideas, innovations, and leadership home. And as 2027 approaches, let us stand united in ensuring that Nigerian diaspora is not an echo on the margins, but a powerful voice at the center of national progress. Nigeria needs you, Nigeria celebrates you, and under this administration, Nigeria will carry you along. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you so much. The message is so clear, and the message from the Office of the President is definitely very clear. And all of us have a duty and responsibility to not rest on that, but to make sure that we push the agenda and not let anybody sit on their hand on this issue. So next will be Weston Iyamu, who's representing Edo State Diaspora Agency. Where's Weston? Yeah, please join us. So you've got 3 minutes, Weston. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. All protocol duly and respectfully observed. And my name is Weston Iyamu, representing Edo State Diaspora Agency. Although the director is up there, she's on Zoom. I don't want to go into much debate or talk. We already said it. But my main concern is outside speaking. We have been doing it with this times without number, but the result remains the same. What is the structure? What are the implementations? What is the punishment for those who are involved in perpetrating the act of electoral malpractices? This is not the first time we are holding these meetings. We've been holding it since 1999, but the result remains the same. What can we do as diasporans to contribute to make sure that our voices as diasporans is heard? Even in Nigeria, those who are in Nigeria who are voting, as we speak, their voices are silenced systematically. So what is the probability that we, the diaspora, who are not at home, our vote can be counted and heard? As Nigerians, we speak so much English, but at the end, we do nothing. Let us come together as one, as diasporas, to use our voices to support those at home, to see how we can come into these electoral practices. My brothers and sisters, let us devise a new system. Let us see how diaspora can contribute. And we want the government to give the diasporans a fertile ground to be among the government and see how we can make policies that affect the people. I just wanted to devise a new system, a new way of doing things. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was short and sweet, as they say. So we move on to we've had so we'll go online now, and we'll bring on Dr. Actually, let's go back to Colonel Bello Fadile if we can get him. Can we get Dr. Bello Fadile? Bello Fadile. I'm sorry, I meant Colonel Bello Fadile. Colonel Bello Fadile has been waiting, so let's have his presentation. So we're up. So we also have So we'll go on and back up what Weston has just said. We'll back it up with Dr. Loretta Oduare Ogboro Oko, who is the Director General at the State Diaspora Agency. She's not here with us. She would have loved to be here. So, Dr. Loretta Oduare, please, let's have you.
Everybody, can we hear me?
Yeah, louder.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can we hear me? Excellent.
Yeah, louder.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you, Weston, and thank you to the organizers. Thank you very much. And thank you, Weston, and thank you to the organizers. Thank you very much. And thank you, Weston, and thank you to the organizers. Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, respected members of the diaspora, civil society partners, and representatives of the international community, I want to say that I, Dr. Loretta Oduare Ogboro, Pioneer Director General of the Edo State Diaspora Agency, I greet you all, and I bring Director General of the Edo State Diaspora Agency from the Edo State Government, His Excellency Senator Monday Okpebolo, as well as the good people of Edo State at home and abroad. The general theme today is, will Nigeria's diaspora be silenced again in 2027? And the answer to that is no, it won't. Because we have now understood as diaspora that we do not need to wait. We do not need to wait to be invited to the table, but we must take our places at the table. If we are not at the table, we cannot shake the table. So today I'm saying that as we gather, we do not just gather here for dialogue. I will second what West has said, and I've been asked to speak on building coalition between diaspora communities and civil society groups in Nigeria. It is a technical issue, this voting issue. It's more than just considering whether the diaspora should vote or not. And like some of us have said, if over about 17 million of us contribute these enormous figures of remittances running into billions of US dollars, it simply means we have to take our places at the table and not wait to be invited. It is a democratic imperative. It is about ensuring that every Nigerian voice, no matter where that voice resides, has the dignity of the ballot. It's not whether we are willing to, it is that we need that every voice architecture of our democracy by ensuring that every voice is heard. The untapped power of the diaspora must be explored. And when the diaspora engages, we not only give, we inspire. And we inspire not just the first generation of diasporans, but more importantly, second and third generations of diasporans. As it says in one of the anthems of Edo State Anthem, it says that Edo's future lies in us. By extension, Nigeria's future lies in every Nigerian, whether they are at home or abroad, whether they live in Lagos or in London, whether they are in Benin City, Milan or Berlin. So therefore, we cannot exclude these people. Now, to the role of coalition. The very strength of our diaspora is also the very bane of our diaspora. The heterogeneity and diversity of the diaspora is also our very problem. But that also is our very strength, because goodwill is not enough by itself. But we need to come together and form coalitions. The diasporans at home, the non-governmental organizations, the charity organizations, the civil society, the diaspora organizations must unite and work hand in hand, because together we can then advocate. We can advocate for legislative reforms, and that is what is going to make our voting possible. Together we can educate. We can educate Nigerians about why we need to vote and why we need to add. And together we can share diaspora best global practices and explain them in languages that our mothers in the market and our fathers on the farms can understand. I will end by saying Kwame Nkrumah once said that the forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than the superimposed influences that keep us apart. These coalitions, when they happen, will be proof that there is truth in uniting Nigerians at home and abroad under one democratic vision. This is why diaspora voting is very essential. This is why we must not wait to be called to the table. This is why the diaspora voice will not be silenced again in 2027. The right to vote is more than a constitutional mechanism. It is recognition that every Nigerian, no matter where we live, we have a stake in our country's future. By building coalitions together between diaspora organizations and civil society groups in Nigeria, we are actually bridging gaps and filtering right to the grassroots, something we call global thinking and local implementation, something which the governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has come to understand, which is why he has originated our own diaspora agency. Coalitions allow us to link the diaspora's resources, knowledge, and global exposure with local credibility and advocacy strength of the society at home. Together we form a precious partnership, not necessarily a precious group, a precious partnership needed to advance diaspora voting from aspiration to policy. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that we need to engage not in theory, but what is already happening. See how Edo State just engaged in Scotland. It is a call to action. let us be clear that when the diaspora feels connected, they will remain invested.
Thank
and
you
when they
so
are
much.
invested,
Thank you.
our democracy
Thank you.
will stay
So on
strong.
that note, thank
God
you.
bless
Thank you very
Nigeria
much.
diaspora.
We
God
need
bless
to move
our
on very quickly
resilience.
now.
God bless the
We need to
civil
move very
societies
quickly.
of Nigeria. God bless those.
So we now need to move on very quickly. We'll go on to the person that's been waiting in the wings for a bit. Colonel Bello Fadile, President, Council for African Security Affairs based in Houston. Colonel Fadile, please go ahead. You've got just about 2.5 minutes. We no longer have 3 minutes because we have to begin to wrap up as quickly as possible. And we want the people in the room to also speak. Colonel Fadile.
Need is 4 words of 32 letters. Alter the constitution for those 4 words and 32 letters. That is the basic. Letters. Alter the constitution for those 4 words and 32 letters. That is the basic. In other words, residing within or outside Nigeria is the word that we need to start with. And I think the right honorable speaker has taken the bull by the horn by sponsoring this particular bill for diaspora voting. Once we get that one in, Section 1172 will be amended. Consequently, Section 17.2 of the Electoral Act will further be amended, and the 5 requirements will be taken care of. And then when we have the law in place, question now is, who are those in diaspora? Do we have the numbers? Yes, citizens. Are the citizens in Nigeria and outside the country, are they recorded? Do they register with the Nigerian embassy, consulate, or high commission? We need to get the figure. That is number one. Then technically, we just saw the demonstration of what technology can do if not properly taken care of as we are starting this town hall meeting. Other words, what do we have to do? We have to take care of the gang of 1 plus 12. You have to take care of your governors, your speakers, your House of Representatives, your senators, and of course, Mr. President is willing, I believe, to do that. So we have to hold the Attorney General of the Federation responsible to give the proper advice. So if you get the law in place, who is going to implement it? The gang of 1 and 12. I'm talking about INEC now, because they are going to make the final regulations on how it's going to be. Is it going to be by proxy? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be in person? All these things are the things that we need to do before we can now sell out to people and get people to key into what we want the diaspora voting to be. That is what I think is important. And we need to start from that. And I think we're on the right path. With barriers, I don't like to use the word barriers as my friend does. Bridges to cross. We can't cross the bridge. We have the brain, we have the manpower, but individual talking will not do it. You need the civil society to key into it and keep constantly reminding your members in the House of Assembly and the National Assembly. That is what I say. For the gang of 1 and 12, we have to start now preparing possible regulations that will sell to them, the INEC. I call them gang of 1 and 12. I don't want to use figure 13 because they don't like figure 13. So we need to start now preparing what the modality that we want to use. What is the modality that we want to use? Who are those in diaspora? Those people visiting, do they qualify? Are they permanent? Are they qualified? Those illegally in here, are they qualified? That is where the embassy have to have a role to play, to document those within their areas of operation. Each state, each country, the embassy should have a list. Then when you have all this in place, you can now start talking about the technology, and the budget, and the security and integrity of the voting. Without this basic foundation, we have a long bridge to go. We can do it. Together, we can make it possible for Nigerians in diaspora sending millions and billions of dollars to Nigeria, and then we'll not have to fight and do what happened in the Boston Tea Party that led to the revolution in America against the British. No taxation without representation. Thank you very much. Unless there is any question, that's my short input.
Okay.
Any question? That's my short input.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Colonel Adele. We really appreciate your contribution. Moving on very quickly, we have Mr. Kayode Akintemi, who is the president, Nigerian Professional Group Incorporated, based in Boston, USA. Mr. Kayode Akintemi. Okay, Colonel.
Everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, News Central, all protocol observed. My name is Kay Akintemi, and the president of the Nigerian Professional Group in Diaspora. Is a group of elites, professionals, students, and entrepreneurs in the United States. We're about 3,000 members. We run different programming, mentorship, career development, help folks within the group to find jobs and opportunities. Really excited to be here. Great job to New Central for Philadelphia. And so really excited. I'll go straight into it. I love to talk with data and just kind of give a little background, even though my topic here is the challenge slowing down the full adoption of diaspora voting. We all will recall with the data that was presented in 2024 that the Nigeria received 20.93 billion in remittance in 2024. And this across board year to date in the last five years is 90 billion. That is very significant. And in 2024 alone, Nigeria received nearly 37% of the sub-Saharan African total remittance, according to the World Bank. And this contribution is not just money. We're talking about networks. We're talking about talent. We're talking about credibility. So there's a power, even in our number. Diaspora population is about 2.1 million immigrants, and broader across board is about 20 million globally. So what does this mean? It means for us, there's we have everything in terms of influence, in terms of the number, in terms of the power, but there's been legislative gap, diaspora voting, and that's why we are all here. The bills have been proposed in the National Assembly, supported by Honorable Sadiq Rabiu, and in March 2022, this bill was rejected because of the Section 77 and 17 of the Constitution. There was a voting of 87 against 269. There are key reasons for citing those rejections. One, we would need to understand that there was a lack of data on the Nigerian abroad, the logistic challenges for INEC. There was also questions about allocation of votes to states, fear of electoral fraud or abuse. Now, based on all of these, I really want to talk about the core challenges that have been slowing down, despite all the recognizing the power that we have as diasporans. I'll be speaking mostly from two sides and not just, from the government's perspective. Also for us, we have to hold ourselves accountable. The first thing for me, looking at why the adoption has been very slow, I do appreciate what New Central is doing, creating a platform for conversation, but we have to move past conversation into execution. Lack of unity among diasporas in Nigeria. We have to hold ourselves accountable. There is a fragmented communities by region, states, and interests. But to build a single advocacy voice That's one of the key things that we need to embrace and hold ourselves accountable about. The second thing is the competencies and disengagement. Some people, I won't say a lot, but some people feel, well, I've left Nigeria, I'm fine. But this is not about today. It's about the future, the legacy, the future of our children and our grandchildren. We're not talking about even for us. We might be good right now, but how about those generations that are coming behind us? So there is complacency and disengagement from some folks that need to be addressed by whichever organization is really spearheading this effort, and some feels, well,
Time has gone so quickly. Mr. Niposhe, thank you so much. Time is so far gone. We want to say thank you so much for your contribution. We're really sorry we have to stop you here, so we will have to move on very quickly so that we can take as many people as possible, Mr. Niposhe. Thank you ever so much for your contribution. There is a commitment, I must make this very clear, there's a commitment on the side of News Central to not let this conversation end today, which means that whatever time we leave here, this is not the end of it. This is a conversation that we will continue to have going forward every day, every week, until we see a time where the change and the difference is clear, that Nigerians in diaspora can vote, they have a voice, they will not be silenced, they can be part of the shaping of the future of our democracy. And for that, I will very quickly bring on Mr. Frank Nweke Jr., who's the chairperson of Fixed Politics Initiative, and he will be talking to us now. Mr. Frank Nweke, thank you very much, a former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and chairperson of Fixed Politics Initiative. No, it's Mr. Frank Nweke Jr., chairperson of Fixed Politics. That's not him. If you're struggling to find Mr. Frank Nweke Jr., then let's move on very quickly then. Okay, we'll move on to Councillor Lade Hezbollah Olubemi, Chief Executive of the new organization. Councillor Lade, who's based in London, Chief Executive of the new organization. So we have Councillor Lade Olubemi, Chief Executive Councillor Lade Olubemi.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Organizers, fellow panelists, and all Nigerians in diaspora watching this evening. It's a privilege to once again join the Diaspora Town Hall in New York, albeit virtually. I was here last year, and a lot of conversations and a lot of things were discussed last year. And for me, the challenge is, are we here repeating the same thing we said last year? I like what Colonel Bello Fadile said earlier about the need for us to put action in motion. A bill has been sponsored, so what next? We don't want to wait until 2027 and then we're now scampering around. I have been asked to speak on the role of the diaspora and remittances in strengthening Nigeria's economy and democracy. This is a subject that sits at the very heart of why platforms like this exist. The facts for 2024 are very compelling. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, we have heard the figures bandied over and over again today. Is the fact that over 20 billion, almost $21 billion are remitted every year. And significantly every year, the amount keeps going higher. These billions are not just abstract figures. They are real interventions in people's lives. So it's not just figures sitting in bags. They're figures that are helping to put food on people's table. They're helping to pay school fees. tuition fees for university students, settling hospital bills. And of course, it's also about the many businesses a lot of us have running in Nigeria. Real estate is one big area that I'm sure we all can relate to, about where a lot of the money go into. And the interesting thing was that in 1 month alone last year, in 1 month, that was July last year, $553 million was remitted just in 1 month. And that just shows us the power that the diasporans have. And we cannot afford to keep quiet. We need to put actions in motion in preparation for 2027. 2027 looks very far away, but it is just beside us here. What are the things we're doing? 17 million Nigerians, and those are the documented ones, according to IOM. 17 million Nigerians, and that includes both first generation and second generation and third generation Nigerians are in the diaspora. How are we going to capture this figure? How are we going to make sure that every single person that is of voting age, that they're able to vote? Mr. Sowore said something earlier, that maybe one of the reasons why Nigerians or the government might not want to have votes from diaspora is because of the numbers that we have. And I kind of totally disagree with that up to an extent. But it's the fact that we have a strength, we have the number, we have the finance to make sure, and we also have the intellect. A lot of us are into IT. A lot of us here are extremely educated, some with 2, 3, 4 degrees. And here we are, we need to make sure that all the skills, the expertise that we have gathered all over these years, we're not just using that to buy houses, but we're using that to make a democratic change in Nigeria. At the community level, diaspora contribution go even further. It's a hometown association, and I'm very glad that Mrs. Oboro Oko spoke earlier representing Edo State. I know that Ekiti State has a diaspora unit looking out for all the citizens that are in the diaspora. Nigeria's invisible foreign reserve is massive, and we cannot afford to keep quiet. They shape our public discourse from London to Lagos, New York to Abuja, and we have to hold our leaders accountable, and also we have to make sure that we're influencing reforms. This means that the diaspora is not only sustaining the economy, but we're also helping to strengthen the pillars of democracy. We cannot afford to keep quiet, because despite sending the $20 billion home every year, our money matters, our voices cannot be muted. And I'm glad we have that bill in the House. I'm glad we have sponsors for it. And I'm hoping it's going to be signed in and becomes an act. And I'm hoping that we're not going to repeat this conversation next year, but that we will all come together. Whether government-sponsored or town hall-sponsored association, we need to start thinking ahead. How do we make sure? How would our embassies, our high commissions get ready to making sure that we're collating the numbers? We have the NIN. A lot of us in UK, for example, will have a NIN. How are we making sure that we're collating all of that? There's a big work on our hands. And I'm hoping that next year, we're not going to repeat the same thing. The power of the Nigerian in diaspora economy is massive, and we cannot afford to be silenced. Thank you very much. I can continue.
Okay.
My speech was just for 30 minutes.
On that note, thank you very much, Councillor Lade. We appreciate your contribution. Have been consistent on this matter, and we will continue to contribute to the conversation. We appreciate your contribution, Councillor Lade Olubemi, who is the Chief Executive of the new organization. We'll bring on Professor Remishina shortly, but before we get her on, we'll come to the former board member, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Dr. Jelili Adebiyi. Dr. Jelili Adebiyi, please It's all yours. Just 2.5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. K. And thank you so much, New Central, for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. I've been asked to speak about from advocacy to action, how we can strengthen diaspora influence in Nigeria's democratic future. A majority of the previous speaker, they have spoken about diaspora voting, which is still a long work in progress initiative. But we need to move away from talking about voting in Nigeria because there is a need for us to think about our advocacy, that is how to engage the system, because we all know that we have been experiencing worsening level of poverty in the country, worsening level of insecurity, and normalization of suboptimal government across all levels, at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. And that begs the conversation, the question, what can we do in these strange and worsening situations? One of the things I think we can do is to leverage our remittance power to mobilize family members and friends to vote for responsible leaders. In 2024, remittances into Nigeria from the diaspora was about $21 billion. It was in 2023 about $20 billion. It was in 2020 $21 billion. And between 2015 and 2025, it was around $168 billion. And that means we have significant, massive amount of economic power and influence over the citizens of Nigeria. And what that means is this. If you look at the money and the population of Nigeria and the diaspora, between 15 to 20 million, as some statistics have it, it means that we can use our resources, that is our money and our population, to create intensive and sustained awareness, exposing bad and failing leaders in the country. There are many ways we can do this. We have the power of technology. We have the power of platform. And we have the power of sustaining the funding requirement for those. We can use that to make Nigeria to be awash with publicity awareness campaign, directed especially at the younger ones about impurity of fostering new generation of leaders in the country. The other thing we need to do is to work with local civil society organizations to fund grassroots and localized education about the voting, about voting the right people and voting the right way. Many of the times when people go to vote, they easily sell their future for pettiness. Sometimes they are given a sachet of Indomie and what have you. And part of that is because our leaders in the country, those who are making themselves available for elective position, they have weaponized poverty. We need that grassroots advocacy. And where is the vote coming from? From the grassroots. The politicians, they know how to talk to the grassroots. But we in the diaspora, we are better at talking to accept the elite. And the elite are not the bulk of the voting population. We need to change focus. The other thing we need to do is to capture our universities, our higher institutions of learning. We need to focus on campuses to refertilize ideological rebate and reconstruction of the Nigerian youth and students. We should be funding discussion group and training programs about good citizenship, good governance, and fighting for change in a constructive way. We need to do this. Politicians are doing this. When you go to major Nigerian campuses today, Seyi Tinubu is all over the place. He's buying off the lands leadership at the national level, he's buying off the lands leadership at the regional level, and at the local level. They are controlling this mechanism. We are not in this critical space. We need to be in this critical space. As a former student union leader at the University of Lagos, I know how critical that those spaces are for reconstructing the political landscapes in Nigeria. It is important for us as folks in the diaspora to come up with intelligent, practicable plans on how we can take over our campuses. And finally, we need to learn how to work with the street and actors in the informal sectors. These are critical voting block, opinion block.
I know you're speaking the flow, and you're speaking so eloquently about this key issue. So Dr. Jelili Adebiyi, please let's give him a round of applause and say thank you for his contribution. Thank you ever so much. So We have a number of people that we're expecting to join us, but let's take 2-3 people in the hall because we don't want a situation where you call and you feel like you didn't get your voice heard. The first person I'll call is Dr. Ife Ojego. Please join us here and let's have 60 seconds of your thoughts on the issue.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to go straight to the point. We're all Nigerians here. Perfect. This conversation, diaspora and voting, yes, absolutely. But we all know what the electoral process is like in Nigeria currently, has been over the years. So even if today legislation passes it and says, okay, Nigerian and diasporans can vote, after voting, then what? Because practically all the votes in Nigeria never count. Almost every speaker has spoken about how Nigerians in diaspora remit money to the country and everything. How about Nigerians in diaspora leverage on the fact that we are contributing so much to the economy of Nigeria to begin to enforce changes in the electoral process? Because if there's no change in the electoral process, I promise you, you can vote all you want. It's not going to make any difference. Nigerian problem has never been the problem of people not voting. It has always been the problem of the votes not counting. So if you ask me, this is jumping the gun. If the electoral process is what it is, riddled with every form of irregularities you can find anywhere across the world, and all we're talking about is Nigerians in diaspora voting, 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 we're just going to add the number of our votes to the uncounted votes in Nigeria. And what has been going on is going to continue going on. So leverage on the fact that you are contributing to the fatherland and begin to enforce a change in the electoral process. Without a change in the electoral process, all the votes in diaspora, all the votes in Nigeria, even foreign votes donated to us, isn't going to make any difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojego. Let me very quickly call on Mr. Makiva Temofe, who is founder and convener, African Economic Global Convergence, for another 60 seconds intervention in this conversation. 60 seconds, thank you.
Good afternoon, Nigerians. It's a privilege to stand in front of you here today, Nigerians in diaspora. I would like to chip in something that is very important with my vast experience in traveling. I've been to 17 African countries. I have met Nigerians, other Africans as well. Aside voters, Nigerians in diaspora being able to vote, it is critical and it is very important to help us to unify the voters' power and to give strength to Nigerians in diaspora, bringing their voice and also making their voices count. Because when their voices count and they are able to vote, because there are other countries, their citizens are able to vote wherever they are. Why do we have embassies? Why do we have nations? What are their sole responsibilities? The world is going digitalized right now. Digital voting is very strategic, and this is the time for each and every one of us to raise our voice and call for voters' power, especially Nigerians in diaspora. Secondly, quick one before I drop the mic. It is the unification of Nigerians in diaspora. Nigerians are so strong, powerful, with great voice. The first thing we get from Nigerians that spreads so quick is the negative news. We need to learn to push the positive narrative faster than the negative narrative. If you look at Russia, UAE, Qatar, have you ever heard anything from them negative in the public space? No. So if we can come together, spread the positive light of Nigerians. I am one of the Nigerians. You are one of the Nigerians making the positive impact everywhere globally. It is time for each and every one of us seated in this room to spread the news. We have to kill that negative narrative.
we have to keep that negative news. If negative news is 5%, it overshadows the 95% of the good news that spreads across borders. I call for greatness, positivity, and let's keep spreading the good news of Nigeria globally. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll take one more intervention, just 30 seconds. Mrs. Chinyelu Fafora.
Okay. You know, when I said I wanted to say something, and everybody's coming up and saying things, I was like, oh, they said what I wanted to say. But I still want to chip in the fact that, you know, what we have said is true. Definitely, for us to be able to do this, we need to have something put in place to make it work. You know, how are we gonna do the voting? Is it gonna be, you know, in the embassies? And again, the two people that spoke just before me over here, they mentioned the very, very important things that, you know, that are very, very vital. Our votes going to count? You know, is it just wasting our time and spending the time that we don't have to do it, and then it doesn't avail to anything? You know, because these are the things that before I used to switch up when we talk about Nigeria, because everything, when I call home, everything I hear makes me go. This recently, I'm beginning to think that, you know, one needs to start thinking about back home. You know, what to do back home to invest, you know, more back home, you know, or even before here. You know, that's what we call a kunono. You know, before the people were just, you know, kind of doing things where they were, you know, until something happened and they realized that home is home. You gotta take care of your home before you take care of the second home, you know. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well spoken. So let's go back online very quickly because we have to begin to wrap up. And our partner, Fixed Politics Initiative, they contributed to making sure that we're able to host this event. They've spoken to a number of Nigerians in diaspora and brought them on to be a part of this conversation. So very quickly then, I'll bring on the coordinating co-chair of the Work Study Group 3 in Fixed Politics Initiative, Professor Oluremi Shunaya. Prof, the floor is yours. Thank you.
And greetings to everybody. It's a pleasure to be able to join this conversation representing the Fixed Politics Initiative. And I have listened to some of the comments that have been made, and I would just like to say your concerns are precisely the reason that we in Fixed Politics believe that this initiative of really advocating for diaspora voting is so important. The WSG3 Work Study Group 3 of the Fixed Politics Initiative has made this one of our central concerns, to engage with Nigerians in the diaspora, not just because, you know, we want to boost the numbers or whatever, but precisely to bring about a change in the electoral process. I heard somebody lamenting that, and just the last speaker too, saying that, you know, do we just want to be able to say, you know, we are voting and then contributing to the number of votes that would not be counted and so on and so forth. That is why we need your cooperation. Fixed Politics has been engaging with diaspora associations around the world, and we have partners. You know, people can join as partners individually, and we can also join as group partners. You know, so I am encouraging and inviting as many people as desire to see that change brought about in our electoral process, so that we can have your numbers help us as we present our petitions before the legislators in the National Assembly. So thank you. We look forward to receiving several of you as partners. Please check the Fix Politics website, and from there you can link on to the Diaspora section. You know, if you also, you could contact us through News Central, through Mr. Akintemi. I hope that would be possible. You know, but definitely you are right that we need to change that electoral process. Otherwise, we are just boosting the numbers for no reason at all. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your concern. That's all. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your concern. We can work together to fix our politics and precisely to fix. We can work together to fix our politics and precisely.
Thank you very much, man.
We can work together to fix.
Thank you so much, Professor Remi. Please let's give a round of applause to Professor Remi. Thank you for your contribution and your intervention and your consistency on this issue, because Professor Remi chairs the work study group within the Fix Politics that continues to do incredible work in the area of sorting out the issue of elections in Nigeria, working with the National Assembly to make sure that we change the narrative and the constitution amended in such a way that it makes it possible for one of the things that we're discussing here, which is the agenda on Nigerians in diaspora being able to vote. It's not the only issue that we have with our constitution. It's not the only problem we have with our election. The Work Study Group 3, which is chaired by Mrs. Professor Remi, is working assiduously and aggressively to help to improve the quality of our elections in Nigeria. So another round of applause for Fix Politics and Professor Remi. So we move on very quickly. We've got Dr. Frank Onyekwelu, who is the President General of Nigerian Citizens Association, South Africa. He is joining us from Johannesburg. Dr. Onyekwelu.
Greetings to all the listeners. Dr. K, good day. News Central, thank you so much for having me. Distinguished ladies, Nigerians at home and abroad, gentlemen and ladies, distinguished ladies, Nigerians at home and abroad, evening over here. I want to appreciate everyone who has spoken on this same topic. I've been given a topic to emphasize on, which is establishing pilot programs to test diaspora voting as we look forward on the coming 2027 elections. Many of us have spoken concerning the impact of the diasporas in our country, the remittance, the economy sustenance, the family we support, the businesses we bring in. But at this point, our question is, will our voice continue to be silent when it comes to election? This is what we say that it must end. We are coming to a point where we have seen many African countries test running the inclusion of their diasporans in their election, like countries like Kenya. Kenya have gradually established this, extending it all over East Africa. South Africa has allowed their citizens to vote at their embassies abroad and their consulates abroad. Ghana has done the same by establishing pilot programs that allows their citizens to cast their vote at their embassies. I cannot mention other countries due to time. Philippines, Mexico, India, Cape Verde, Senegal. All these countries have established the diaspora voting and use it to contribute to their voting systems and their governance. So why not Nigerians? It is time for us to move forward. The answer is to develop and implement a pilot program, a small-scale controlled test before a full rollout. For example, next year, 2026, INEC can collaborate with our embassies and consulate, conduct secure physical centers through our embassies, let citizens come and register, cast their vote, and we will be able to evaluate the turnout, the security, the cost, the transparency with independent observers, both Nigerians and international. Through this, we will be able to experience benefits like having a clear result, pilots reduce risk, strengthening the public trust. Many of our citizens are losing interest and trust on our INEC. But if they can include the diasporas to contribute and let our vote speak, not just a selection, but election, then we can have confidence on our democracy. We can have confidence on our INEC. By starting small, Nigeria will identify logistic and challenges, build confidence, create a roadmap for 2027 or 2031 election. We can start from South Africa, United States, United Kingdom, these three major countries where we have vast Nigerians or diaspora staying. We can test run with 3 countries, then enlarge it to 5, then to 7. We can build on this. Looking at our president's foreign policy, the 4 Ds, demography, democracy, development, and diaspora. It is time diaspora's voice come to play. It is not just saying it, but let us allow this foreign policy to include our leaders, our businessmen, our entrepreneurs, our professionals from all over the world. Let their voice be heard. This is very clear. Nigerian diasporas can no longer be heard. This is very clear. Nigerian diaspora, we remit, we represent. We cannot just be a voice without being heard. It is time justice demands inclusion. Our democracy demands participation. Our national progress demands harnessing every Nigerian voice. As we approach 2027 election, let us not only dream of a greater Nigeria, but let us design it with bold steps. And what are that steps? Let us establish diaspora pilot programs that can test run this voting from diasporas. Let 3-4 countries start it. INEC can do that, working together with our embassies, then test run it, look at it, review it, and then enlarge it to other countries as the case goes on. 2027 is here. Let us stop giving excuses. Let us engage the pilot program. Let the diaspora voice be heard. Thank you, and God bless you. Bless you. Dr. Are you there?
Thank you so much. Thank you ever so much, Dr. Omoyele, the President General of NICASA in South Africa. So very quickly, we'll move on to Sir Barrister Chibuzo Obochi, who's the Chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Organization for the whole of Europe. Chibuzo Obochi, the floor is yours. We've got just 2 minutes now. The time keeps reducing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the introduction. My name is Chibuzo Obochi. I'm the chairman of the Nigerians in Diaspora Organization Europe. I'm currently coordinating the entire Nigerians in Diaspora Organization worldwide. Why I mention that is to clarify that NIDO, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, is quite different from NIDCOM. NIDCOM is a government arm, and NIDO is the citizens. It's you and me. And that's why we have to strengthen NIDO, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, in order for us to achieve a restructured, a rebranded Nigerians diaspora. So I will start by thanking the organizers, because we need to continue with this advocacy. Last July, 24th of July, we were in Abuja. We marched for more than 4 kilometers from the Unity Fountain to the Eagle Square and to the National Assembly. For what reason? Specifically, to drum home that the diaspora must vote. It's not about us, but it's about Nigeria. It's about our love for Nigeria. When we talk about diaspora voting, it appears to us as if they are doing us a favor. Far away from it. They are not even doing the current diaspora a favor. Let's picture this. Why do we remit money to Nigeria? Just think about it. We heard people say $20 billion annually. And I thank everyone for that, because it seems our job has been done. And I thank the organizers because our job has been done. INET supports diaspora voting. They told us they are ready. The presidency supports diaspora voting. We heard from the special advisor here, they are ready. National Assembly, both House of Rep and the Senate, they all support diaspora voting. NIDCOM supports diaspora voting. Then what's the problem? And that's the strongest question for us to answer. But let me go back to what I'm saying that we should think about. Why do we remit $20 billion annually to Nigeria? I do so because my parents are in Nigeria. I do so because I have brothers and sisters. I have wards in Nigeria. Likewise, I believe most of us do so because of the same thing. Non-Nigerians can remit money because they want to invest. That's fine. We can also remit money because we want to invest, but that's not the primary reason why I send money to Nigeria. That's not the primary reason why we send $20 billion annually to Nigeria. It's because of our love for Nigeria. It's because of our connection with Nigeria. So take the next 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. My mom and dad will no longer be in Nigeria. Bless their soul. I want them to live long as they will. But they will no longer be in Nigeria. I might no longer be in Nigeria. My children will not send money to Nigeria at all. That $20 billion annually will disappear. And that's why we are calling on the Nigerian government to set that legacy today so we can start to vote. Once we start to vote, guess what will happen? Our children will feel connected to Nigeria. The second generation will feel connected to Nigeria. The third generation will do the same. The fourth generation will do the same because it's their home. You cannot say Nigeria belongs to all of us, and yet you deprive it from voting. So think about it. This $20 billion will disappear because our children, the third generation, they will not remit money to Nigeria. So it's now we have to fix it so that they can start participating, go along with us to Nigeria, vote, and become part of that democracy. Nigeria cannot purport to lead Africa where they cannot lead or harness the potentials of the diaspora. Today, in the news, I think we heard about us asking for a permanent seat in the United Nations. But our diaspora is being left behind. So it's time for us to vote. And I'm calling on everyone, please, diasporans, join Nigerians in Diaspora Organization wherever you are, in any chapter. Join. Let us rebrand NIDO. It's the only organization that we have. Let's not play around with politics and semantics. Nigerian Diaspora Organization is the only organization that belongs to you and me. So let's make it strong. Let's rebrand it. Let's restructure it. Join, contact us, and let's make it great. So when we speak with one voice, they must allow us to vote. They are not doing us any favor. I'll stop at that, but I call on the federal government to leave a legacy. No matter what happens, this current government will be remembered for passing the Diaspora Voting Act. Thank you.
Yes, on that note. Yes. Yeah, on that note. Thank you. Thank you ever so much. Yeah, thank you ever so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you ever so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chibuzobochi. Okay. I know a few people in the room are having something to snack on, but if you can spare a couple of hands, we can say thank you by giving a round of applause to Chibuzobochi, the president of Niger Europe. So we've got just about 3 to 5 minutes. We have to wrap up in 5 minutes at the most. So the final round of conversation or intervention will come from Dr. Brian Rubin, who is Executive Chairman, the 16th Council, and is also the founder of the Africa Economic Summit. He joins us online. Dr. Brian Rubin, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fellow countrymen, it's my real pleasure to be here with you today. Even though we are scattered across continents, we are connected by something very powerful, and that is our deep stake in Nigeria's future. We all know the numbers, and it's been spoken about many, many times. However, I want to talk about what we are missing by not letting diaspora participate as it should be in our national policy. The first is voting rights. The third gap is voting rights. We all care about elections back home, but most of us can actually vote from abroad. Ghana, South Africa, and others have all found ways to include their citizens overseas, and we can do the same. The second gap is policy gap. And many of us work in systems with strong institutions and innovative ideas. That's a treasure trove Nigeria can learn from, but only if there's a clear way for us to plug in. And then thirdly, we have the narrative power. We are natural ambassadors for Nigeria. In a world where perception drives investment and diplomacy, our collective voice could be a game changer, but that is only if that's organized. So what can we do? Well, we can take 3 quick steps. The first is push for diaspora voting as we are doing right here, making it normal for Nigerians abroad to cast a ballot. And the second is to build advisory channels to connect diaspora expertise directly to ministries and parliament. And then go beyond remittances to support civic tech, election transparency, and innovation that can make Nigeria's democracy stronger. Democracy works best when everyone has a seat at the table. Excluding the diaspora means leaving one of Nigeria's biggest advantages unused. And so let's build a new compact, not as spectators, but as partners and co-creators of Nigeria's democratic future. Because I believe that together we can make it fairer, more inclusive, and more globally respected. It's not possible for Nigeria to practice it's not right for Nigeria to practice a landlocked democracy when her citizens are global. And that is why I think this is very important that we close this down. Thank you very much, and let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you ever so much. We really appreciate your contribution and your intervention. I think we have just about 1 or 2 people that have been angling to have a word. If we can have your intervention, just 1 or 2 words from those who are in the audience here. You're all Nigerians in diaspora. You're in New York, not in Nigeria. You're not in Lagos. Oh, well, you're in Lagos, but Lagos in New York. So we've got to recognize that you're in Lagos in New York. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Oliver Uzobife. I'm a retired New York City inspector. Last week I was in London for an engagement, and this confab today was made known to me, and I decided that I must come. And when the topic is the diaspora Nigerians going to be silenced again in 2027, chosen as the topic, I was so elated. And I'm so happy that the essay to the president here today, alerted us that the go-ahead has been given by the ever-listening president of Nigeria, President Tinubu. So the only thing I have to say is Nigeria prides herself as the giant of Africa. But as the giant of Africa, has Nigeria lived up to her responsibilities, her expected responsibilities as, the leader? The answer is a resounding no. Some smaller countries like Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and some more countries like Brazil practice diaspora voting. Why has Nigeria not allowed this exercise? Not allowing diaspora voting tantamounts to deprivation of the universal suffrage of a right to vote. Therefore, this confab today calls for the urgency of now. The arrangement to start diaspora voting must start immediately this confab ends. Choice of venue, computer connectivity, mode of transmission of election result, the enabling legislation, the enactment of law that will enable diaspora voting must start with immediate effect at the national and state assemblies in Nigeria. The question now is, after diaspora voting is allowed, will our vote count? This answer is a resounding yes. Remember the brain drain of the 80s and the present day economic migration. Where did all these people go? Diaspora. So Nigeria has one thing going for her population. And this population of Nigeria is both at home in Nigeria and in that diaspora. Therefore, if diaspora voting is allowed, the population of Nigerians in diaspora has the capability to tilt the pendulum of willing for any candidate in the presidential election that attracts the highest number of admiration for voting. Therefore, allowing diaspora voting is not only a mandate from now, but a necessity. Please, when you get back to Nigeria, convey to the president, tell him that we are all ears and that we are all prepared for this privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if I have my way, we'll be here for another couple of hours and we'll continue to talk and talk and talk, because this is a conversation that cannot end now or end today. We have to follow through. According to our brother, who is the essay on capacity development for the office of the president, they said that yes, there is a commitment on the side of the president that this has got to be done. But the president can't do anything apart from what our brother has said here today. He can't do anything unless all your voices are made to count, so that the National Assembly will do what we in Nigeria always describe as they need to do the needful. they need to go through the third reading and the final presentation and then do their vote on it and present a bill to the president for assent before it becomes an act of law. That's the process. But that process will never happen unless there is some amount of pressure on the side of all Nigerians in diaspora and your own brothers and sisters back home in Nigeria. I remember many years ago that it's been said several times that if you're a Nigerian and you're sending money home to support your brother, your sister, and any member of your family, or even your friends, if you're doing that, you have some amount of influence on those individuals that you're sending money to. How are you using that influence? What are you doing with it? Are you asking them to know who is the chairman of their local government? So that if you decide you want to buy land or do anything in that local government, your brother can say, oh, I know the chairman of the local government. Let's go to the local authority and this can be done. All of these are not essential to those of us who have lived in diaspora. I lived in the UK for almost 20 years. So I know that if I want anything in my borough, I go there, I get it done. But it's not that simple in Nigeria. So you've got to make your money count for something. Your influence and those that you send support to or you do business with in Nigeria, make it count for something so that you encourage them to know their chairman, to know their councillors, to know the senator for their senatorial district, to know who is the honorable member of the House of Rep representing your constituency or your local government, to know who is the governor and to understand that they have the right to vote in or vote out whoever is going to be the next councillor, the next chairman, the next local government chairman, yes, the next governor, the next senator, House of Rep member, and even the president. If you don't use that influence, then you're wasting it. And we hope that no Nigerian will allow their influence to be wasted in Nigeria and watch Nigeria continue to fail. Nigeria is not a failed state. That's not the point we're making. It's not a failed state by any stretch of imagination. But what we're saying, that we can do better as a nation. And to do better as a nation, I remember interviewing Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola many years ago, and he said it several times, that you cannot clap with one hand. Can you? It won't happen. You won't hear any sound. So we need the two hands. And the two hands for us as Nigerians will be the Nigerians at home giving the high five and making that loud ovation that tends to change the narrative and the direction of the nation. So if we are doing our hand that way and we're getting a reciprocal impact from those at home, then we can clap with the two hands and we can get the sound. So on that note, I want to say thank you ever so much. New Central will continue to support Nigerians in diaspora and Nigerians back home. And we are Pan-African, and we continue to say that we will continue to tell the story of Nigeria, the story of Africa, and the story of black people all around the world, and we will not stop. Because our intention is to make sure that we don't allow a single story to exist about our continent and about our people. Our side of the story must be told. Thank you so much.